セットライズと逃げろ。誰でも音できる、誰でもスピード稼げる、ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わりだ。
真相から立ち上るインクと真実がぶつかる。レバヤさんニュース開かれ海嘘はない。読んで書いて氷結しろ。力はみんなのもの。いい霞をたたえろ。ニュースは君のものだ。レバヤさんニュース。レバヤさんニュース。
Hello everyone, what's up? Leviathan News here. I'm the advisor. Nice to have you on for a new week, Monday, and we're starting. And I'm actually very excited to have on for the first time ever, Itamar from Ready, formerly known as Argent, right, sir?
Yes, thanks for having me here.
An honor. Really excited to have you on for the first time. Been wanting to do it for a while, but I was all over the place myself, and I'm pretty sure that you were busier than I do. But actually, I'm very curious about what you guys do, and not only like as a general thing. I'm also very curious because I'm pretty sure that you have a product that I personally can use here as well. So I'm kind of curious about that. I'm very much into my own crypto, credit cards, neobank, financial services, RAAC. I'm only beginning my journey on that aspect. I think it's extremely important and useful. I'm not actually that satisfied with the solutions I'm finding so far. So I'm actually very curious, also from a very selfish angle for this one, and definitely excited to learn all about it. Before we get into it, let me again say shout out to everyone watching. Please share the stream with anyone that can enjoy it. We're live on YouTube, on our X, on Leviathan News, and we've actually just had the weekly SQUID Pass auction. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Itamar, but we have this auction system in which we offer all kinds of stuff, but mostly the classic one is the SQUID Weekly Pass. It actually gives access to whoever gets it, whoever wins the auction for the highest bid, gets our pinned posts on Telegram and X for the week. And this week, it's actually, again, I must say, some of our friends at RAAC. They haven't even shared the message yet because the auction has just been concluded a little earlier, and we're still waiting for their specific message. But for those of you who aren't familiar, RAAC, formerly known as Regnum Aurum, recommend you Google it and understand what it means. A lending and borrowing ecosystem powered by real-world assets. They've just recently launched their first gold-backed stablecoin, PMUSD. Very successful launch over there, and looking forward to what they have to share with us this week. So follow them on X at RAAC. And check out their website at raac.io. Thank you so much for winning the auction and choosing Leviathan News, kind friends at Sales and Sales at RAAC. Shout out K Crusher, MD, Florian, and all the guys there. good friends of us here at Leviathan News and in general of the Curve ecosystem. So always enjoy having them on. Okay, Itamar, again, thank you for joining us. And, just as a beginning, maybe for a few minutes, who I will also use to share the link on X as well, can you maybe share a few words about yourself? How did you even get involved in crypto, in the space, like your own journey? For those of you who are learning about you for the first time?
Yeah, so myself and crypto. I think it's for me, as a background, I've been a founder for a while. It's my third company. The previous one was previous one was very different space. Obviously, it wasn't crypto. Crypto didn't exist. We were the largest mobile brain training games. So mobile app with 60 million users, running a large subscription business. And before that, I'd been product manager at Amazon. I've worked in payment at Visa, etc. But it's in that company that for the first time I had a team member basically who was very excited by crypto. Ethereum didn't really exist yet. He was first into Bitcoin. Then he kept telling me about an ICO I had to join, which was Ethereum. But I had no cash. The business was, we're really all in on the business. And then back in a while ago, 2016, 2017, we sold the business. Two things happened. First, we sold the business to a very large book publisher, so we had cash, so I could start investing. And so, of course, I was like, okay, I will invest in that thing, in crypto. So I set up, at the time, a hardware wallet, made my first transfer. It was all virtually free at the time. You would pay, there was no congestion. It would cost a cent. You make a transfer. And so for me, having worked in payment, this felt quite amazing that you could just do some transfer just through cryptography. At the same time, what happened is that when we sold the business, we got an RAAC flag on the sale. So the funds were frozen. We were a UK company being bought by another UK entity, but in dollar. And so the US froze the transfer for what we discovered weeks later was just a mistake, an absurd reason. So we finally got the money, but we realized that at any point in time, the money could be frozen, and our money was not really our money. And that's the first time I really lived through that. And so with my co-founder, Jaron and Julien, we were all very excited by the space for different reasons. We sat down, we defined the vision of what would become Argent and later on Ready.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, thank you for that intro. So you guys have started, you say Ready, basically after you've kind of had your own first experience of the importance of not being able to be confiscated by others, or however we can describe it, maybe.
That was one of the revelation. I think at the same time, from a pure technology perspective, we felt that having a global financial system totally open just made a lot of sense. We saw really crypto as an extra layer to the web. You don't feel the internet belongs to someone. We can debate how decentralized it is, but it feels like a public good that anyone can use. And we felt payment rails should really be part of that. And that's often what people see as the original sin of the browser not having payment embedded to it. So we did feel there would be a world where those rails would be used, that it would make sense. At the same time, when we look at it from a user experience perspective, we're very convinced that non-custodiality would fail the way it was done, that there wouldn't be, our starting point was really there won't be some global financial system where everyone is some form of secret, but was the seed phrase at the time. And if I lose my secret, I've lost all my money. And if you have my secret, you have my money. We felt there's fundamentally something broken. And already at the time, what we wanted to do was really product as simple as a typical neobank, but fully self-custodial. And that if we couldn't do that, you would end up with like a few big exchanges holding everyone's money, and then we would be back to square one and status quo. So we clearly realized we couldn't build, to be honest, a full-on neobank. Scalability wasn't there. The regulatory landscape wasn't ready. And so we became very focused on self-custody and cracking really account abstraction, how self-custody should work for it to be really usable by a larger number of people.
And this is actually when it's still Argent, I'm guessing, back then?
Yeah. It was still earlier mid last year, we were Argent, and we restarted the business like that and grew that way. Yeah.
What actually made you guys like shift? Because, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I actually wasn't using it myself, but Argent was a wallet, I believe?
When we started, it was already built as a neobank, but we didn't have any regulated rails. So you would really have full self-custody, but you wouldn't have a seed phrase. You wouldn't really see the underlying chain. Then at the time when Compound launched, we had our first savings account using Compound, which was really the first DeFi protocol. Then Uniswap came, etc. So all that already had the shape of a neobank, but what was really hard at the time is offering a card, offering banking rails. But then in that journey, what happened is that we had abstracted everything, so no seed phrase, no gas, years ago already. So it was so simple to use. Then DeFi summer happened. We moved from spending, $1,000 a month in gas for our users to spending almost $1 million. And we were not a very well-funded company yet at the time. So it changed completely the business. We were meant to be this very approachable neobank. It was way too expensive to run that on Ethereum. Layer 2s didn't exist. And so we became a product for whales, basically, people with a lot of money. The largest ever wallet was literally $500 million. Had proven our custody model. We could be extremely safe on your phone. In 2 minutes, you set it up. But again, that was very far from our vision. And then that's when layer 2 started to come, the regulatory landscape. And so we went really full circle until the product that is ready today, that is much closer to the original vision of a neobank.
Maybe we should step back a second and ask like a more general question. I'll ask you, what is a neobank? What is this vision of a neobank, and what are the key differences between a bank and a neobank? So
at the end, to be honest, everyone defines it the way they want, and we started using that word in the industry. I think the important, it's more between what we are doing, which is not a bank, because you have self-custody. We are not a neobank, it's the on-chain alternative to your bank. And differentiate that from a wallet. A wallet is a technical product that doesn't really abstract the chain, the technology. You might have accounts on many different chains. You will use bridges. You will see, crypto address everywhere. It's a very complex product, either for developers, very critical. They need to develop, they need a wallet. And it's very, very open, very unopinionated. So you can do millions of stuff. You can do mistakes. But you can also ape into the latest chain, latest protocol. What we define as a on-chain alternative to a neobank is a very opinionated product, which is what a bank or neobank is. You have a set of features around payment, around investment, yield, and we package all that in one very opinionated application. So very safe, self-custody, but much more curated environment and a wallet that is totally open. And that abstract everything that is in technology, etc. That's really the main aspect. Of course, then how does it differentiate from a traditional bank? I would argue the starting point is really the self-custody. At no point in time can we freeze, take over your assets. And that translates also in terms of better UX. And that's why it's not a surprise that it starts with segments that are struggling more with traditional banks. If you work in crypto, if you are some category of creators, or if you have some markets, you will have issues with your banks asking you millions of questions every time you're there moving money. If you're in Europe and you move money from an exchange to a bank, it's very likely you get a phone call 5 minutes later, or they will freeze your funds, and it leads to a lot of inconvenience. In Europe, you will feel less about the risk of confiscation. But if you're in Argentina, where I spent 6 months, then it's different. You really don't trust institutions, local banks. They've had experience where funds were confiscated, where entire pension funds were moved from private funds to public, so basically confiscated, or the dollar have been rebased, I would argue, with suddenly a new FX rate. So different segments will be attracted by those properties for the very different reasons.
I actually think that this definition of a neobank will not necessarily be the same definition as maybe some other entities that call themselves neobanks would present. Like just for example, and again, feel free to push back against it. I'd say that quite a few services that I can think of, not naming names, are not self-custodial, but they do call themselves neobanks. No?
Yeah, and even traditional products like Revolut, etc. Anyone.
Exactly.
At the end, it's an opinionated financial product. And then you can be more focused around. I would say neobank would mean probably you're some financial super app, but you could be a pure play around investment. You could be a pure play around yield. There would be millions of segments. It's a very broad. I think it used more as a term to differentiate from wallets, which are very specific, very technical.
So I understand. So you say that, for example, for you guys at Ready, the self-custodial aspect is a key feature. Like you see it as like one of the main things that are necessary in your vision of what a neobank should be and the kind of services it should provide the user. So
it's very necessary for us. And
there's
the company and then the users. So there's two aspects for us. And we believe strongly that being a non-chain neobank, non-custodial gives a strong, first, regulatory edge. We are much leaner. We don't need a few hundred people to run the business. So it makes your business much more efficient. And in general, using what we will see is a new generation. At some point, the end goal is to be a very mainstream neobank that can serve many use cases, but because of the stack we use, a much more modern stack will be much leaner, much more efficient. And it's a feature for business to not be able to take money from users. It makes it more resilient, and it makes me sleep much better at night. Then for users, I think it's a very different story. There are segments today that care. And so, of course, it's great to start with them. There are users that will care more about security, about their privacy, about their freedom. That's how I would say it. The same way that you have a very large segment of users that will use Proton Mail and not Gmail, or that will use Signal and not Telegram. And so there are really segment of users in different markets that will care. Will the next billion people care? Maybe not. But by then, I think we'll be able to compete really on the full end-to-end UX, etc., with much more traditional custodian services.
I've never actually thought about that angle, but that's because I haven't started as many businesses as you are, and I'm not even taking this kind of stuff in consideration. The fact that self-custody is actually something that you would prefer as the entity behind the operation, because it actually allows you now much more freedom and much more, like you said, that you can be much leaner on whatever the whole regulatory aspect involves, because you're not actually a custodian of funds and all that kind of stuff. I haven't even thought about that angle. I only thought about it from the user standpoint of, how cool is that to actually have, a financial service provider that that can't take my money or confiscate it whenever they decide that I don't know, I haven't behaved or whatever. So I actually think that it's a very interesting perspective that I personally wasn't even considering.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake we make in crypto to think that everyone cares as much as we might do. It does reflect the user experience. Of course, the fact that we had a user depositing $500 million in a wallet, there were no like sirens ringing everywhere and 12 phone calls to that user. They were free to do so. So it's a better UX. If you do that to an exchange, to a centralized entity, they will bother you with a lot of questions. It will take you many days or many weeks. So of course, that's really a UX benefit for users to not have their funds frozen for days or weeks suddenly. But I think philosophically, it's a smaller group of users that care, but it's probably a big enough segment to start. At least for the first step of that journey, there are enough people who cares in the world about that. Yeah.
Take us through what the user can actually do with Ready these days. And by the way, can you maybe show it to us on screen? Can you share your...
I don't know if on Restream I could. Might be tricky, actually. So I can guide you through. And I think the best is people to go on ready.co, download the app. So I'll do my ad second there.
I will go to ready.co.
So download the app and they can download the mobile app. But think about it as, if you look at the properties at the end, I think what has attracted the most people recently was really the card. The easy first segment is really this friction of people. There are a lot of people in the world who invested in crypto, who hold crypto. They can be in Ready, but it could be in any wallet, can be in a hardware wallet. And getting out of crypto is really a pain point. With the card, they can deposit on any chain, stable coins from literally on any chain. They deposit, now they can spend with the card anywhere. They can withdraw cash, they can spend in any shop, etc. So there's really this high convenience on payment. That's what created the narrative across the ecosystem, because there's been an explosion. It's much easier to issue now crypto cards, etc. It's very efficient. It's really stable coin settlement, very low fees. But then you look at the full spectrum, meaning you want to be able to invest, to swap, so to buy tokens. For us, it's a more broader audience. So really, Bitcoin and ETH are the two main one. So people buy Bitcoin, people main ETH over time so it's highly curated. Then you will of course want yield. What you find in your wallets typically on different chains, but much more curated, especially again on Bitcoin. That's where we are very strong, and we have the highest, I believe, Bitcoin yields around 3%. And so on over time. Today, for example, we don't do tokenized stock, but it will get there too. And anything you can think in the crypto space that we are familiar with, it's about making it very accessible, very simple. We wouldn't implement everything because some stuff might be too niche, too complex. But you could imagine, for example, we're working on things like gold, which is of course a very quite mainstream assets. And over time, we'll see more type of investment. So the same way that traditional neobanks would add categories, we do the same, but we benefit from an open source ecosystem of protocol that give us access to all this type of investments.
So basically, if someone wants to use Ready now, they should just go to ready.co, and then what? Like they download the app, and then they can order a card, or start even using what can you?
They download the app on their phone, iOS, Android. They get started in 10 seconds, basically. They can decide to just use for simple use case with not even a card, but of course where we are much more unique is when you start to get into, and I would say, I could have said that earlier, the category of companies who call themselves neobank is actually when you start, and we shouldn't use that word because we are not banks, is when you start connecting to traditional world. And the two core things that connect us to a traditional financial system is the card and then bank account. So we offer to you both. You have a card. With that, you can really spend your stable from anywhere. And then you have bank accounts in many different currencies. So you can have a dollar, euro, GBP, Brazilian real, etc., many different bank accounts. You deposit fiat there, and then you have stable in your wallet. So you really connect in and out to the traditional financial system.
Okay, so you actually say that once you have a ready account, you can top it up both with fiat funds. From how do you upload the fiat? You just send like you get an IBAN or what?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're in Europe, it would be an IBAN. You send literally your money there, and then what you have technically in your wallet in your app is really stable coin actually under the hood. So you send money, you have stable coin. Exactly. But then if you're in a market like Brazil, it would be PIX, a different system. US accounts also, etc. So really, you have your local rails, or you are a contractor and you want to be paid. You want to be paid in some other currency. You give them those details, you get paid, and then now you have under the hood.
And automatically, whenever you do that, like when you use the traditional side of things, on the ready, on the back end, what actually happens is that it auto converts into stable coins?
Exactly. So you're really putting fiat in. The fiat never really enters. We don't touch that fiat. It's straight away stable coin. There's no conversion to be made manually, etc. So fiat in, stable coin ends up in your account.
Just for me to try to understand. Let's say that a European-based user has euros in his bank account. Okay, he gets an IBAN from Ready. He tops up, let's say, 100 euros onto Ready. And then, what specific stablecoin does it convert? Like, it converts to euros over there, or dollar stablecoins?
We will be bringing euro, but today it converts. Everything is dollar-centric because our first audience is very crypto-centric, and dollar is really the currency of crypto. We see demand for euro, especially over the last 12 months when you see the dollar-euro rate. There is value to hold euro. But right now, everything goes into dollar. So you send euro, it's converted on the fly. You get dollar. If you send dollar, it stays, of course, in dollar.
Which dollars are that, by the way? Like, which stable coins does it actually convert to on the backend?
So you can use technically several, but really what we use as the main stablecoin in our ecosystem is USDC. That's the coin that is really used to settle with the card. Which is interesting is that on the fiat side, of course, there's a conversion from fiat to crypto. When you really use the card, is straight settled in USDC. You are not like off-ramping your USDC and selling with some fees. It's really settled with the card issuers directly in USDC. So very, very efficient compared to the generation of crypto cards we saw many years ago, where you were actually selling some crypto on the fly with sometimes 2-3% fees.
Okay, so you said basically whatever fiat you send on the back end, at least for now, what happens is it auto converts into USDC on the Ready account, and then people can use that USDC directly without needing to do any kind of off ramps on the back end. It automatically uses it, which I would imagine saves a lot of money in fees. I'm just guessing.
Exactly. So it's creating the most efficient system possible. Of course, they might not spend it directly. They might first invest, try to get yield. Maybe a feature we see now is people buying Bitcoin and then borrowing against that Bitcoin. So you ask about feature. I didn't go through everything, but that's also an important one. Is just you want to hold Bitcoin and never sell your Bitcoin. And then you just open a credit line and you start spending dollar against your Bitcoin collateral. Again, because it starts with that more early adopter crypto community who love this kind of product. And if you believe over the long term that Bitcoin and ETH will keep growing, you would rather hold and spend against them.
I want to share this. I think we covered it, but I just want to make sure because I see another reply from YouTube. by Grinder Nation. Shout out Grinder Nation. How did you convert fiat to stable? So basically, this happens without you doing anything. You just send, and like you don't have to actually actively do anything. This just happens basically.
As a user, no. Of course, we work with partners. So, for example, for the virtual bank account, we work with an amazing company, Due Network, and they provide us this regulated stack because, of course, bank accounts are regulated. And so we have a provider, a partner for bank accounts, and we have a partner, SQUID Pass, for card issuance. And so Due, under the hood, will manage the flow of funds, will ensure you get your, will manage the FX, etc., to get you from your euro or your dollar to the stable coin.
And I'm guessing that you can also like top up with crypto assets as well, whether it's stable coins or other crypto assets. I'm guessing that you can also like send some funds to the Ready app that way.
Exactly. So you would, the way you would expect, you would pick which coin, which chain, and you would deposit, which is, especially with crypto users, a very heavily used feature. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, okay, let's say someone has some funds on mainnet. He can send like which tokens can they send to the Ready app, or is it whatever? How does it work?
Technically, whatever. What is really used, it's basically is Bitcoin and then stables. You could also, so it doesn't have to be USDC. You could send USDT. You could probably send DAI, but USDC is really the main currency. To the point where probably in 2-3 months, you will not even know which stable you have in your account. So it's really about hiding that complexity.
Really? And you send it all like on mainnet? Like which?
No, like, so we abstract all of that, and different feature can be in different places. So for example, the card settles on Starknet. So Starknet is really the chain we use for payment, the cheapest, a very fast settlement. A lot of privacy features coming. So for payment, extremely relevant for us. But you can send your funds from mainnet, from whatever, Base or Bitron, Tron, Binance chain, anywhere. We see a lot of volume from Binance, from Polygon.
Yeah.
And then but you might have an investment, for example. So we're working with a larger one protocol. We'll launch something very soon. So our job is to figure out for every feature, the best place. So if you think, for example, about lending, the biggest lending markets are on L1. So if we need to get you yield from L1 or Volt from L1, it's our job. We'll take care of that and we abstract that. So you will not see like different chains. That's what I mean by a difference between a wallet and like a DeFi financial super app where we have abstracted all that complexity.
I understand. So basically, you guys are trying to create a hub, and again, correct me if needed, okay? You're trying to create this hub in which whether a user is a very savvy DeFi user or whether he knows nothing about DeFi and crypto, he will be, and whether he knowingly cares about self-custody or not, like again, that doesn't matter, he will have a hub in which he can send funds into whatever way he wants, basically, like whether it's through fiat rails, whether it's through crypto rails, whether it's on this chain, on that chain, or whether it's with this asset or that asset or whatever. He will just send it and as much of the experience will be abstracted away. And he will just like see the kind of services that he wants access to, whether it's yield, lending, whatever basically, and he will just be able to tap on the Ready app, like, okay, I want this percent, I want this loan, I want whatever, and he won't even know what actually happens behind the scene, that maybe it goes on this chain, like on L1 to get him this kind of a loan, or maybe it goes on Starknet for easy settlement or whatever. Basically, a maximal abstraction experience for the user to need to know as little as possible, but have access to as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that summarized well. We're building a product, not not an access to a chain, or building a product with feature that solve users' problem.
That's actually very cool. I haven't realized that. Who can use Ready? I saw that you guys are active in over 140 countries.
So because we're non-custodial, anyone anywhere in the world can use it. But then some features will be country specific. So everything regulated might not be available everywhere. So we are, for example, the card. We don't have yet a US card. We're adding a US card probably next quarter. But for most, if you exclude the US, basically in most of the world, you can have most of the features.
Where can for example, people can already get the card?
They can literally almost everywhere in the world. So we see demands from a lot from Europe, but as I said, I spent 6 months in Latin America to explore that market. We see interesting demand in Asia, etc. So really trying to get as global as possible, as fast as possible. It's of course easier for everything purely on chain, but then we're catching up on bank accounts and cards also to be as global as possible.
Can you maybe elaborate on why did you guys choose Starknet and why the actual rails are built on Starknet? Like, what are the benefits of having having it built there?
Yeah. So when we started before L2s really existed, I think a technical bet we made, or we had actually strong conviction, especially one of my co-founder, Julian, that basically ZK would evolve much faster than people thought. People thought it would take like 10 years for ZK to happen, while optimistic rollup would be faster to market. And if you look at it, actually proper, like Arbitrum first to market, but then ZK with end-to-end settlement, I would argue Starknet was there as early as some of the optimistic rollup. So for us, it was really making a long-term bet that would get us lowest cost possible, fastest settlement. We had suffered a lot through congestion and high cost. And so now, we saw a place where we could do many thousands of TPS sub-cent transaction. I would say no, different ecosystem as you could serve that. Our users don't really see it. What gets us excited today is really the move towards privacy, especially on the payment side. On the payment side, more privacy would enable more use cases. On the investment side, we think it will be it's more fragmented. So for example, Starknet is by far the best place for Bitcoin yield. We had something like 3.5% Bitcoin yield, while you would typically be sub 1% or around 1% on other chains. But if you take USDC yield, I would argue Ethereum L1 is still the king. And of course, ETH yield. So I think not being religious about which chains and figure out the best place for different features. For example, if you look at tokenized stock, I would argue it's not even EVM today. It's actually Solana that is leading. So I do think we'll see different places with different strengths. And hiding that complexity so the users don't have to worry about that is our job.
That's actually very interesting and very nice. And I do share your vision there about the fact that, yeah, you're right, you should be building a product because people don't want to, like maybe us nerds want to know all this kind of stuff, but like the average user has zero interest in knowing all this kind of stuff. They just want to get the best services and the best offers.
And it's changing so fast. So for example, in coming months, maybe we'll see that Robinhood chain on Arbitrum Tech will be the best place for tokenized stock. So it's really our job to figure out where funds should transit for users to get really the best deals and the best features.
I want to ask you about some stats, both about the team stats and user stats. Like, for example, okay, how many users do you guys currently have? How many people are already enjoying the product? How many people are using the cards? What's the amount of funds actually being used there? Which countries do you see most activity? Give us some perspective on that.
So we have several sides to the business because we, as I said, we were on L1, then we had a wallet. So we were the largest, like 80% Starknet activity and funds were on our wallet when it was called Argent. And so now we are refocusing all our energy on this on-chain alternative to your bank. So if you look at the entire business, it was millions of users who would create wallet, hundreds of million. I think a billion was our top TVL before the market crash. And then in parallel, we build a neobank and bringing as many users as we can. So I think we have settled like $35 million in cards. So now we're very focused on that. So we see a big growth in terms of card settlement. There's around probably 20,000 cards. On the given month, you would have like 10,000 cards, 10,000 users using their card, and more than 35 million settled. With most of that having happened literally in the past 3-4 months. Like the card barely existed I would say in September. We were like in July, August, we were really out of beta. In September, we opened the gate because it was a wait list. And so the card is really what's growing the fastest now.
So how many card users do you guys have currently?
On a given month, it would be 10,000. So we have around 20,000 users moved to the card, and now we're trying to get more and more users from the wallet side to the card side.
How many people are using the wallet again? Did you say how many?
Wallet is millions because we had a lot of users on L1, we had a lot of users on Starknet. Before anyone who owns a wallet
so it really is about like expanding the service and now and like trying to attract more and more people.
Yes. Wallets are very different audience. Users have 50 different wallets. There is an airdrop and you can get 1 million users overnight, while the card is an insanely high retention product. Those who have it for like 80-90% of users who take a card will still use it 6 months later. It's a very different product to a wallet, much more interesting, much more loyalty. So,
can you tell us a bit about some of the benefits of the card, like what separates it from other cards? And I see that there's like 2 versions of the card also, like metal and light, and maybe like how can you get the metal card and like what are the benefits of it compared to the light one? But even start before that, why should people really be looking at like the ready card other than a handful of other cards out there?
So let's talk within the category of crypto cards. So cards that allows you to spend your crypto, because I think that's what your audience probably will care the most. I would say several characteristics. One, we are genuinely, truly non-custodial. Meaning it's not just, hey, you have some login with a third party that store all the keys of everyone and you are legally non-custodial, but in fact, if they stop paying the bill, you lose everything. And over time, we'll add even more feature for you to be able to go outside the Ready app, withdraw funds if really we shut down everything. So really having a highly secure non-custodial model. Every account has 2FA. So even if someone could literally extract from an iPhone the cryptographic material, we could still protect you from that. So very, very secure, super simple, non-custodial. What is probably the most important, very low fees. So we have 2 products, as you said, light and metal. On light, we are now at 1% FX fees, but we have some cash back. And then on metal, we have 0 FX fees. So you can spend anywhere in the world. I'm not aware of another card which is as good as that one. In most of the other crypto cards, you would have 1%, 2% to 3% FX fees. You would have many fees based on like for card decline. There's so many package of hidden fees for we understand the reason, but basically there are a lot of fees. For example, on metal, you can withdraw a lot of cash without fees from ATM, etc., etc. So really, the metal is a subscription. So a more active user would subscribe, would get 0% FX fees, very high limits around things like ATM, etc., with no fees. And then we also have a cashback program. It's 3% right now. It will evolve into a very exciting program with different categories, etc. So at the end, really, we are high limit, low fees, very high, very low decline rate, very reliable product. That's, I would say, how I would summarize it. And then I think where people will get attracted over time is everything around the card. You have the app, how simple it is. You have bank accounts. You can deposit from anywhere. You have some people will come because they are more interested by the high yield on Bitcoin, etc. So it's really about the holistic approach to the product.
Very nice, very nice. What can you tell us about the operation of you guys there, like the team? Like, how big is the Ready organization? How many people are involved?
So we have a wallet team and on-chain financial super app team. So, but I think what's interesting, if you take the super app neobank team, it would be probably a bit less than 40 people, which is like extremely efficient. Again, because of this non-custodial element. So we don't need, typically a company like ours might have like already dozens of compliance people, dozen a legal team, etc. And we can really, and probably a larger technical team. And so you can really do a lot more with that model when you are non-chain equivalent to neobank because of those efficiency and much less regulatory exposure. So it's very engineering focus, basically. Our focus is to ship more and more and more. And of course, things like growth, marketing, etc.
What are some of your aspirations for the upcoming months or years? Like, where do you see Ready? What's important for you guys, first of all, in 2026, and maybe even beyond, if you have any thoughts on that?
So it's definitely a year very focused on growth, like product engineering in some way. It is maybe a bit easier than the very early days. Also, basically for everyone, pace of development accelerate massively, AI, etc. I think besides growth, what we would love to see is start to see bigger non-crypto segment. Right now, our focus is really this crypto community that we serve. It's the most obvious need. They have a big, heavy, hair on fire need. But we start to see very interesting pocket of users outside of that. And I think that would be great to see our crypto first offering grow beyond that and serve more and more people. Again, that's why I spent 6 months in Argentina to understand the needs there they have a high adoption of crypto, but for a very different reasons. I would say it's the start of a segment where crypto really solves real problem for a lot of real people beyond the speculative element. So I think that's something we care a lot and would like to see more. At the end, we want to create a product for, that gives more freedom, more control to people. And we think there's a large segment of users who would benefit heavily from that.
Very nice. Are you going to attend some conferences this year? Any plans on that aspect?
I haven't decided on mine. I usually go to France for HCC. I won't go this year. So I'm thinking maybe Singapore for Token 49. I'm definitely going to Mumbai for HCC. I haven't missed one. It's on start now. So I don't do too many, but definitely want to be there at DEF CON, I meant.
Yes, of course. Looking forward for that one, hopefully, as well. How did you like DEF Connect in Argentina, by the way? How was it?
Love it. I think it was fantastic. And I was there months before, and you could see it was not just, the EF preparing DEF Connect. It felt like all of Buenos Aires was preparing DEF Connect. There's a very strong community, and everyone felt very involved in getting this ready. I loved it.
I agree. I think that Buenos Aires in general, I think, is just incredible. But also, the young generation there is so crypto-oriented, dollar-oriented because of the financial situation there. They have such a deep perspective on financial independence and and like world markets and all that kind of stuff. I remember that when people started explaining to me the fact that they have all these different types of dollars over there, like parallel dollars, I think.
Yeah, totally. And they compare the rates, and you use and there's an entire part of the population that live in a dollar economy, and one of the people, you compete there with the UX of someone taking a flight to Miami to open a dollar account, and we can open them a dollar account in 1 minute. And I think anyone who feel sometimes doubts around crypto or bearish, it's easy when the market is down. They should go spend some time there and see real people using crypto day to day. And interestingly, they will care about the properties of self-custody without really knowing that's what they care about. They care really about what it solves under the hood.
Actually, exactly. They actually use this kind of stuff rather than like in the non-emerging market world, where we think it's like all about yields and investing and whatever. But I think within emerging markets such as South America, for example, I don't know, this kind of stuff actually solves regular daily issues that they need to deal with all the time. So I was really impressed by how savvy they actually are, even if, like you said, not even necessarily knowingly that that's how something is called or whatever in crypto terms, but they definitely they actually experience this kind of stuff. Like they know what it is to not get access to dollars from their bank or whatever, or how important and how useful stable coins can be for them. So I agree with you on that one. By the way, I actually think that your content over there with Blockmates was actually kind of great. So shout out to that. It was a huge,
they are fantastic. I love doing that.
Thank you so much for your time, Itamar. Really enjoyed it. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? I know we have a lot of stuff to do.
No, thanks for giving me this time to share. Ready.co, give it a try. Send me feedback. Send us feedback. We care deeply. There's so much that will come to the product in coming months. So go give it a try. Let me know if anything you want to see in the product.
Thank you so much, sir. Ready.co, ladies and gentlemen. This was Itamar. Follow him at Itamar L on X. Really enjoyed spending time with you, sir. Thank you so much. Looking forward to some updates on your side. And you can drop off if you need to. I will have some messages for the audience either way. And looking forward to talk to you soon, sir.
Awesome. Thanks, the advisor. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really fun to have Itamar here on for the first time. I want to give another shout out to RAAC, who just won the SQUID Pass. Thank you so much, guys. K Crusher, MD, Florian. Let me pop it up on screen. Again, Regnum Morum, guys. Thank you so much for choosing Leviathan News. Always an honor and a pleasure to have you guys on. Check out their lending and borrowing ecosystem powered by real-world assets, bringing RWAs on-chain, RAAC.io. Their new stablecoin, not that new already, but still kind of new, PMUSD. Go check it out and see what you can do. You know what? Let's go to the website just a second and check what you can do. RAAC, a DeFi lending and borrowing ecosystem powered by real-world asset. RAAC Lend, RWFX, a lot of info over there. Stuff is coming soon, pretty quickly. Looking forward to see what exactly they are gonna, what message they will have us share on the pinned posts. And thank you so much for, again, winning the auction this time. And guys, thank you all for tuning in. Give us a like, follow us on X, on YouTube, join our Telegram channel for the news and headlines just stay updated with everything in DeFi and crypto. And remember that you can come and participate in the process of curating the news, submit your own headlines, earn squids, and just join us in the revolution that we try to do over here within crypto media. Shout out everyone again. Let me just pull up the amazing outro video. I also actually use it as an outro as well by Arcus. Shout out Arcus for this amazing one. And let's wrap up the show with it. And thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Enjoy. Talk to you soon.
それはレバヤさんニュースだ。デセットライズだ。逃げろ。誰でも音できる。誰でもスキルを稼げる。ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わりだ。
真相から立ち上るインクと真実がぶつかるリバヤさん